Hello, welcome. Today is another day of More Than HR Monday. Falana, we haven't seen each other in a while.
Yes, we have been slacking for a bit, but we're back.
We're back to attack. It's been really fun projects with Soho MD, cooking shows, and Falana's been doing diversity and inclusion program and setting that up. So really fun things that we had going on. And so we miss you guys on More Than HR Mondays, but we are back to share something with you. Today's topic is power of check-ins. So as we're checking in with you, we're talking about check-ins overall with our employees and our consultants. And Falana, tell us about that research that you did in terms of the power of check-ins.
Yes. So I will say, in working with Caroline as my manager, she definitely checks in with me on a pretty regular basis, which I really appreciate. And in turn, I check in with our employees as well. If we notice that anything is off, or even before something is off, we want to make sure that we have communication with a person and they feel comfortable speaking to us about what is going on in their lives. Because check-ins aren't just about the work that we're doing. It's also checking in with the employees as a person as well. So in some of the research that I've done, I found some tips for us. And I also found just some of the benefits of doing check-ins, with employees. So one of the articles that I found were on LinkedIn, and it's just making sure that you're scheduling time with your employees, your direct reports, or if you're an HR employees that you may oversee, and making sure that you have open communication with them. So one of the large highlights is making sure that you're setting up time just to speak about how things are going. And then this hopefully will set up the type of relationship where the employee will be reaching out to you before you even say anything, to let you know how things are going, so that we don't wait until something goes wrong. And we have this sort of relationship where we're addressing problems at the head. So yes, I really enjoyed doing this research, and I think it was very important.
And, Falana, we were talking about like micromanaging, right? So there's managers that micromanage where you're like checking in every day in terms of you have a meeting every single day. That could be tedious, redundant, that could be tiring. You really want to spread out your check-ins, you want to give space. In our company, for our HR generalists, we check in once a week, right? And then we talk on the side for different reasons, right? And then, meeting with our HR manager, Asia, I check in twice a week, right? But it's not every single day. I think you want to establish a relationship where your employees, consultants come to you. And that's what you were saying, Falana. You want to set it up where it's like they come to you. They want to problem solve with you, not that you're always checking in on a daily basis, unless you have a project. If there's a really big project that has like an ETA on it, and you need to check in every day, that's a different story. But just generally, you want to also give people space to grow and to flourish and not feel like you're micromanaging them as well.
Yes, absolutely. Ideally, these sorts of check-ins would build trust and relationships, and not so much deter the employee from speaking with you. So if you're doing it every day, that can kind of be intimidating to the person. Every day it's, where are we on this and what's happening with this, and that becomes a little scary, and it kind of diminishes the relationship that you're building with them. So you definitely want to time it out to make sure that it's appropriate, and the employee still feels like they can come to you off schedule and schedule something with you as well.
Because you want to build trust too. You want the employees to feel like they trust that you trust them and that they trust you, right? And I think that sometimes when you're overly doing it, you lose that trust. They feel like maybe they don't trust me as much. Equally to say, managers, directors, and owners, you also want to provide a check-in, because there's the opposite end of the spectrum where someone's doing it overly too much and then someone's not doing it at all. You don't want to be a ghost to your own employees where they can't find you or you can't talk to them, or you don't have a set in time frame on a weekly basis to talk with them. You don't want to just completely be like, oh, that is my manager. So you want to be able to happy medium between the two, and it will provide trust in the workplace. And I also think in your personal life, because we spend a lot of time working, but you have these check-ins to liberate you, to empower you, to help your managers and directors to understand where you are personally and professionally. And those check-ins are really important. Most people call them performance management process. That's what the HR members call it, right? And it's a quarterly basis that you check in. And then sometimes you check in 5 to 10 minutes within that quarterly time frame for other reasons, right? Projects, or just you notice something, you want to kind of touch base and so forth. So that's what we call performance management process. But overall, if you don't have a performance management process, check-ins are really important to do with employees. And also, I would even say consultants just checking in, maybe not as frequent of a check-in for a consultant because they have other projects that they're running, but at least once in a quarter of a check-in for a consultant is appropriate.
Yes, definitely want to let them know that you're there.
Yeah.
So some of the tips that I found on risepeople.com for managers on conducting these check-ins, just to make sure that they're not, like we said, overwhelming for the employee, and making sure that they're effective as well, is respecting each other's time. Of course, sometimes we have to reschedule or go over the time allotted, but as much as possible, you want to avoid that, just to let the person know, hey, I'm not going to hold you hostage. Why don't you get on this check-in with me? It's just quick. We'll see what both of us need, and then we'll move along, and that's fine. You want to be honest with your employees, and you want to encourage them to do the same thing with you. So it's not just you telling them what the company needs, but also them telling you what they need from you, what they need from the company, and if they feel comfortable, getting to know them a little bit personally as well. And for supervisors, you want to make sure that you're listening. This is a time to hear the employee out. I know a lot of times we want to jump in and be like, oh, the answer is X, Y, and Z. But before doing that, just give them a chance to speak and wait for a space where either you can jump in and say, well, have you thought about this? Or let them work it out on their own. It's good for growth and development, and just being there for support. You want to ask for feedback on how they feel that their job is going. Are they being challenged? Are they overwhelmed? We want feedback on how their relationship with their managers are, their relationship with HR, the company, different things like that. You definitely want to keep that door open. And keeping the conversations growth-centric, I think, is very important, because it's not just about the project that we're working on right now, but where you're going to grow as a person with the company, or even beyond the company. As a manager or a supervisor, you're there to support someone's professional growth as well as supervise the project or the department. And you also want to try and end on a positive note as much as possible. Of course, some check-ins aren't going to be great, but it's not going to always all be bad, right? Like, pull up anything you can. You know that this employee is trying really hard. Highlight that if you can, to encourage them to come back and have these discussions with you. So I like those tips, and I'm sure we'll link that article as well to this video.
Absolutely. And those were really great findings, Falana. The listening part is really key. I mute myself. So like how Falana was just talking, I mute myself. Even if I want to say something, I mute myself, because I want to really listen to what the employee or the person that I'm speaking to is saying. If you are ending, or if you're talking and someone else is talking, and you're already creating something as a rebuttal to say, it means you're not listening. So that's really key as you're coaching and mentoring members of your team. I also thought that it's equally important, Falana, of asking feedback, like how are things going, especially if an employee comes to you and has a different way of working and wants to have that conversation with you, asking for feedback. Is it going well? Have I made the changes that were necessary to help build our relationship? Because this is called relationship management. You're not just going to need it professionally, you're going to need it personally, family members, friends, strangers. You're going to need to build relationships. And it's just going to be important that you learn this now rather than later. And respecting each other's time. That is a really great one, Falana. It's one that I've been working on this year. Sometimes I have to reschedule. Sometimes I come in 2 minutes late or 5 minutes late, and I've been working on it. I've been actually trying to put forth of, I need to go, I need to have this meeting, I need to get this done. It's heavy because as someone that is in a director role, so many things are coming at you all at the same time. I realize the more you are growing within your company, so as a supervisor or a lead, and then you turn into a manager, it's a director, and then maybe a chief of staff or something like that, there's more calls. No one tells us that, but there's a lot more calls. So you really are trying to schedule in, but you have like 5-minute gaps for yourself, and it could run into meeting burnout. That is such a thing. So it's something I've been working on because I've noticed that I do a lot of phone calls, and as a manager, I'm working on it because I do want to respect people's time. I've noticed that even in some of our group meetings, I'm like, to respect everybody's time, let's talk about this offline, or let's recoup and talk about this next week. So that's something that I've been working on. Have you noticed that, Falana, as you're working through with Soho MD? There's a lot more calls?
Yes, absolutely. For sure. And I think it's also because it's a virtual environment as well. So that's different than being in the office and people can sort of just step into your office and have a discussion with you. It's sort of fitting in this call in between the 5 others as much as possible, but they're all equally important. It's a different environment. So yes, it can be difficult at times, but
you do it. You just get it done. You just get it.
Exactly.
And I want to also share, when we say check-ins, we're checking in on video calls, or like most of the time it's video calls or like phone calls. It's not a check-in in a message. If you're trying to conduct a full check-in through message, it's really hard to do that because a lot of things get lost in translation in terms of communication. So I really recommend, please don't write lengthy messages to members. Just give them a quick call. I prefer video calls because then you get to see the person as if they were in person. But sometimes that's not possible because maybe you're traveling for another meeting, or you're traveling just in general because everybody's working from home. There's so many things to do. So that's also okay for you to have a phone call, but I really want to tell people to stay away from the messages. One of our partners, Govi Rao, he taught me that because I noticed that every time I said, Govi, I quickly want to say something, and maybe I'll text it really quickly, he jumps on a phone call. He always jumps on a phone call. Or when we were closer, he'd be like, let's meet up, Caroline, in person. And I'm like, oh, I like this. It's nice because we talked about work stuff, but we also talked about personal stuff, and it was a nice blend, and you established a really great relationship. Someone that also does that a lot is Dr. J. Dr. J loves phone calls. Like, you may send him a quick message, he grabs the phone, and if he misses the call, he definitely calls you back. And I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that about him. Dr. Ratush, he used to, in the Jersey City office, he used to pop up. So he did a pop up. He didn't even call. He just pops up in the office, and we would have conversations. Then he'd go see his patients. So everybody has different ways in which they check in, but you want to be with a company that does it. You don't want to be with a company that doesn't check in and doesn't really want to know what's going on with you and how to fix things, or it challenge you to fix things. You want to have a company that checks in. So this was really important for us to do, Falana. Thank you so much for doing that research. And Yeah, we have some more stuff coming within the end of August, beginning of September for More Than HR. I am cutting some more of my cooking shows. So that's coming soon. I'm super stoked and excited. Falana, our diversity inclusion program, it kind of got started within these calls, right? So
Yes,
it
yes.
was really nice for us to be working together on More Than HR because it's sparking more innovation within our HR department and our employees of engagement.
Yes, all of these changes and additions really are very exciting.
So thank you so much, Falana. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And cheers to everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.